Do.
Welcome to today's episode. I'm Lauren Mishcon.
And I'm Nicole Goodman. And this is the Self-Care Club. Today's show is about something that we all claim to hate. But really, do we? Do we hate it? In fact, as much as 14% of daily conversation is made up of this. Gossip. Why do we do it? Is it always bad? Can there be benefits to it?
Gossip.
We're going to unpick it all today, aren't we?
Since human beings learnt to communicate, gossiping has existed in one form or another. Even the word itself has evolved. It started meaning a person related to one god, like a godparent, and then it came to mean the person one gossips with. In fact, you're going to go mad about this, Nicole. It was only during the 16th century witch hunts that the negative connotation first arrived. And this was when the misconception that only women gossiped first emerged. While the idle chatter of the accused women was gossip, the witty chat and intellectual debates that occurred in the newly arrived coffee houses of London were considered an entirely different beast. Frequented by the educated and the well-to-do, Samuel Pepys, yes, him of the Great London Fire journals, he was among the men to sing the praises of the coffee house as a useful place to pick up gossip, listen to debates, or make useful trade connections.
So hold on. So it was only women. When women are talking, it's considered gossip.
Yeah, and we're slagged off for it, and they were basically like witches. But when men do it, it's just
educational
and useful. Yeah,
and connections.
Yeah,
and networking.
Yes, precisely.
But I don't think that's changed.
I don't think so either. But you know what? Men gossip just as much as women.
Oh,
in my experience,
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. Well, should we start with the basics of what it is? What is gossip?
Yes.
Gossip is any talk about someone who isn't present.
Yeah.
It's usually about something we can make a moral judgment or criticism about, which means you tend to approve of the information or disapprove. And it's entertaining, meaning that it doesn't feel like work to do it. And you tend to want to share or hear the information.
Yeah.
God, this is so uncomfortable. It's not inherently bad, and it does play an important role in keeping society connected. Typically, what's shared tends to be of a personal, intimate, or sensationalized nature. Gossip can be true or speculative, positive or negative, but a key characteristic is that it is based on information that isn't widely known.
It's kind of like a secret, isn't it? Sort of.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have thought that some of that was gossiping, but I guess it is.
It's also a social skill. It is a way of staying connected and sharing information, but it can turn unhealthy. So today we're going to kind of talk about the difference between what is harmless chit-chat and malicious rumours, because if it is malicious, it can actually be damaging to your mental health and to your relationships. It's not great when it turns.
But malicious anything is not good.
Of course not.
Any sort of malicious intent or bad intent is never a good thing.
For you, for your relationships, for other people, for
anyone.
Anybody. No.
Especially gossip.
Yes. So why do people gossip?
Well, being human beings and sharing information about one another, it's part of what we do. Everybody gossips.
Everybody gossips. And if you don't, you are a liar. I mean, if you say, I never ever gossip, I'm sorry, I don't buy that. I just don't.
I mean, there are people who gossip more than others.
Yes.
And there are people who, when I'm with them, we don't really talk about other people.
Yes.
But I think at points we all gossip.
Yes.
At points we all discuss somebody else.
Yes.
Because
even if it's famous people.
Yeah, but even if it's people in your life, because it's human nature and other people's behaviours or thoughts, or it's interesting.
But it's also become completely normalised, hence like the Daily Mail sidebar of shame. That's just gossip. We all gossip about celebrities, the royal family, all the time.
And we think it's actually our right to do it.
Yes.
We feel entitled to gossip about them. Oh, well, they're celebrities. We have to talk about them.
And it's encouraged.
It's totally encouraged because it sells
gossip magazines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And papers.
Yes.
And radio shows.
Yes.
And content. And any form of other media.
Yes. It's very normal. And
But it doesn't make it right.
No, I agree. It doesn't make it right. But it's pretty much generally accepted among social scientists that gossip is actually a relic of our evolutionary past. Because in order to survive and pass along your genes, since we were human beings, it's always been necessary to know about the lives of those around you. Who has powerful friends? Who's sleeping with who hasn't got any corn or rice left in their shed? Who might stab you in the back when times get tough? All of this knowledge helped people get ahead socially. And people who were not interested in this stuff, they're basically at a disadvantage. So if you were not interested in the goings on of other people, often you kind of got weeded out. So it was quite important to know.
Well, your livelihood could depend on it.
There also wasn't like email, Instagram, sidebar of shame. There was just like the women at the local wash house telling you, don't eat from their farm stand because all their cattle are infected, right? That sort of stuff.
Or, you know, don't let her near your husband. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's safeguarding.
Yes.
In a way, isn't it?
Yes.
So there's a thing called good versus bad gossipers.
Yes.
Okay, I hope I'm the good. Haven't read this yet. A good gossiper is someone who people trust with information and someone who uses that information in a responsible way. The key is that you're sharing information in an appropriate way that's helping others. I think we should give an example. A bad gossiper is someone who shares information about others in order to get ahead or get an advantage themselves or just plain recklessly. They tend not to be trusted with info by other people.
I think most people know who in their lives is a terrible gossip. And if there was something really juicy or really private, they know they wouldn't share it with that person because they know that it would spread like wildfire.
Yeah.
Or
There's people that just can't help themselves.
No.
And they don't. Do you think those people know that they are those types of gossips?
Yeah.
I don't think they do.
Oh, I do.
I don't.
And I don't think they care.
Why wouldn't you care? It's not okay.
Because some people just move through the world like that.
But that doesn't make it the right way
I'm not
to
saying
move.
it's right, but I'm saying
But why
I think
wouldn't they care? That's why I don't think they would identify with being that person. He's not a gossip.
There are 3 types of gossip.
Oh, are you a gossip, James?
He's not a gossip. No, he's not a gossip.
I bet you got lots of gossip inside your head, though.
Loads.
Yeah.
Tons.
But I just don't take shit very kindly, so gossip tends to be shut down quite quickly.
Well, there are 3 types. The first type of gossip is positive gossip. So this is like sharing positive information, and it creates.
So, like, oh, your friend's just got a new job. Let me
yeah,
tell you
or
about
guess
it.
what? Blah 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 blah. Getting married.
That's positive gossip.
right?
It's interesting you're saying that because I would never have put the term gossip with anything positive.
Oh, interesting.
Because I always think it's just a negative way of talking about somebody else's business when
Yeah.
it shouldn't be.
Well, that is kind of how we've been conditioned to think about gossip. But positive one creates a sense of bonding or friendship, and you might leave that conversation feeling like validated or more understanding about other people's perspectives. So that's positive gossip. That's okay. Neutral gossip is the second kind. It's just information. It can be quite mundane, quite boring. So it might be like you telling Adam that your friend just got a promotion at work. It's just information. There's no evaluating the information, whether it's good or bad.
There's
no
no
judgment.
dissecting it. There's no, this
No.
is my opinion on it. This
No.
one's got a new job. And actually, I think she should stay where she is because it's a bit of a demotion.
Precisely.
Right.
There's no evaluation. There's no judgment. You're just literally, you're not saying whether they deserved it or didn't deserve it. You're just sharing the information. My friend got a promotion. Neutral gossip.
Does
Info sharing.
anybody do that?
I feel like I share a lot of neutral gossip with my husband. Really boring stuff. You know?
Like what?
Oh, like if a teacher's leaving.
Oh,
Or-
that is
you know what I
sorry,
mean?
I don't think that is gossip.
What is it then? Information
I
sharing.
think it's just,
info sharing.
I think it's just talking.
It's just talking, but it's talking about other people.
Yeah, but then doesn't he need to know if the teacher's leaving?
That's what I'm saying. It's neutral. It's information sharing, but it's still about other people. You're having a conversation
But
about
that's-
someone else who isn't there. So that's the gossip.
Okay, right, I understand that. But that is,
But I'm not judging it. I'm not saying, well, he's leaving because he was a shit
I
teacher.
think that's the piece. That's the piece, isn't it? That's the gossipy piece.
Yes.
You giving your opinion on it.
Or my judgment on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But actually telling him, well, the teacher's leaving, well, he has a right to know because that affects his kid.
Yeah.
I mean, again, telling Adam whether or not my friend's got a new job or not, does he need to know? Well, I guess, yeah, because it's his
Does
friend
he
too.
need to know? No, but maybe you just wanted to share that information in a neutral way. But it's still gossip.
Is it?
Yeah, it
well,
is.
it depends what your version of gossip is.
By the definition of gossip, it's gossip. But negative gossip is the one that we all kind of think of when we think of gossip. So like, for example, you might have a really big row with a friend and then you might mention to a mutual friend,
Oh, of course.
oh my God, she's such a liar. She's so rude. Actually, I think she's unstable.
Yeah. Well, what you're actually doing is discrediting them
Yes.
to credit yourself.
Well, it's a reflection of how you felt after that argument.
Well, also,
But it's not objective.
It's not objective, but you're also getting your position very clear and you're actually trying to manipulate the other person's opinion and you're getting in there first before the other person comes with their side of the story.
And the trouble is that that person you're telling all this to might hold judgment about that friend, or even worse, go and
About
tell
you.
the next person, oh my God, guess what Nicole just told me? This girl's a liar and she's unstable and I think she might be having a breakdown. And so it goes on and on and on and on. Right? That's bad.
But could you do that from a place of, I mean, what if you're doing that from a place of concern? Like, listen, she told me this whole thing. I'm actually really worried about her because she doesn't seem like she's in her right mind at the moment. Is that still gossip or is that concern? If it has a hint of concern and worry about it and you're telling someone else because you're not sure what to do, like, is that still classified as gossip?
Yes, but I think it depends
Yes,
what
because you're
you're
talking
at.
about the other person who isn't there.
But I think it depends on what your intention is. And if you've had a huge argument with them, I think we have to assume, are you really that concerned or are you just pissed off and you want to say something not particularly nice about that person to someone else?
Intention is everything.
Yeah,
And context is everything
yeah.
here. And it's very nuanced.
It's very nuanced, but I think it's fair to say that none of us are perfect and life is messy sometimes. And I think people do gossip.
There
You
are
know?
some benefits.
Like,
Gossiping helps you build bonds and make friends. I said this to you, didn't I? When we
Yeah.
decided to do this show, I said, I think a lot of gossip is how women connect to each other.
yes.
I'm not saying that's correct, but it does very much integrate one another.
Yeah.
And I see it happening with my girls who are obviously in their teenage years,
Mm.
that when they have a mutual like
Enemy.
annoyance of someone,
Yes.
yeah, then those girls are very, very connected and bonded
Yes.
over this mutual annoyance for the other friend.
Of course. What do they say? Your enemy, my enemy. What is that saying? Do you know the one I mean?
No.
You're going to have to edit this out. My enemy. Your enemy's enemy is your friend.
Your enemies,
Enemy is your friend.
yeah,
Right.
love it.
It's that. It's that.
Yeah, so it can integrate you, it can connect you. Also, the act of talking to someone can help build trust. But can it? Because you're actually talking about somebody else. So how can this build trust? Or it can suggest that those who aren't to be trusted should be avoided.
Or it can help solve a problem. So I told you some gossip about something that happened to me on the weekend. It did involve another person. So yeah, I guess it was gossip, although it did involve me. But I told you that not to gossip because I did have a problem that I wanted solving. So I didn't tell you that to slag off that other person.
You would have.
I would have what?
You would have told me that anyway.
I would have told you that anyway, but I also told you because it was a problem for me and I did want to air it to have it resolved. I wasn't just telling you for the sake of gossiping about it.
No, you didn't. And I think if you didn't want it solved, or it wasn't a case of solving something, you would have told me anyway.
I would.
We still haven't solved it.
But then is it gossiping? Was I gossiping? And am I gossiping because it involves me?
Exactly. It's something but it's something that happened to you. And
Yeah.
it's something that someone said to you.
Yeah.
So it's your business. But you are also involving another person because it involved another person.
Yeah, but
so
if
now
you
I
shared
have
that gossip.
I wouldn't.
No, but I'm just saying if you did, that could be quite damaging to me, to the other person, to someone else, you know.
It would be very damaging. Now, that would be proper gossip.
Yeah. Yes.
If I shared it, that would be absolute gossip. Yes.
Yeah.
I won't.
Yeah.
Apparently, even the negative gossips can have an upside.
Yeah.
Knowing that someone has spoken about you behind your back can be hurtful, but talking about it can help to build empathy. That's a bit of a stretch.
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that one.
So if someone talks about you behind your back, so if I know someone's been slagging me off,
Yeah.
and then I come and tell you, such and such has been slagging me off. James has been slagging me off. Can you believe it? What it's supposed to build empathy. You all have empathy for me.
I think so.
You know what my kids would call that?
What?
Being a pick me.
me.
That is like classic pick me.
Yeah, it is a bit. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that.
My kids call me a pick me all the time.
Oh, my kids love to say main character syndrome. You've got
you
such
don't.
main character
You don't.
syndrome.
You don't. You do over the weirdest things, but in the main, you don't. I do. I think I do.
I got accused of it yesterday because the dog fell off. He fell off a ledge into some water yesterday.
Barker.
I know, and it was very steep, and he couldn't get out. And a passing Norwegian man had to climb down and drag him out by the collar, and it was quite traumatic. The dog didn't give a shit. Literally got yanked out and carried on his walk, and couldn't care less. And I was a bit like, oh my God, what dramatic. So I got home and told everyone this is what happened. And they were like, oh my God, it's all about you. Never mind the dog. I was like, the dog was fine. Like, he didn't
But why
care.
aren't you allowed to have feelings about
I'm just
that?
not, apparently, because it didn't happen to me.
What
Dunno.
did happen to you?
I know, I was quite annoyed.
Because you couldn't get the dog out.
I was annoyed about not being allowed to have feelings about it, but apparently
What
I
was it
wasn't.
you had main character syndrome over last week? You were being so dramatic over
The
something.
painting of my kitchen.
Oh, the painting of the kitchen. The kitchen. Yeah, and it was like, listen, mate. I mean,
It's just paint.
you're getting your house redecorated.
It's going to be fine.
Like, this is...
Climb down off the ledge.
This is a privileged problem to have.
Yeah,
you know?
it was a real first world
But
problem.
it was so unlike you. It
I
was
know.
so unlike you. I wouldn't say you have main character syndrome.
Thank you very much.
I think I do sometimes.
Do you?
Yeah, I think I do. Yeah, my dad would definitely say that I have main character syndrome.
Oh.
You know, because I'm having this operation.
Yeah,
Because I have mentioned it a couple
you
of
have,
times.
yeah.
And he keeps pretending as if I'm not having it because he knows it's really annoying me. Because I'm like, well, are you going to call me? He's like, about what? I'm like, what about my back? He's like, oh, are you having a back operation? You know, as if I'm going in for like
Having a tooth pulled out.
having my legs waxed.
Yeah.
I am a bit main character syndrome over my back operation.
You are the main character in that, so I think it's okay.
Is it okay if you are the main character in that? But then you could be the main character in everything.
Oh, I don't know.
Is that how it works?
I don't know. It's not my specialised subject.
It should be. We should do a show on
On
it.
main character syndrome.
Yeah,
On
and
being,
being
a
a
pick
pick-me.
Okay.
If you think you are a gossip,
Do you think you are a gossip?
well, before all of this, I would have said no.
Mm.
But
Mm.
I do talk about people when they're not there.
Mm.
But it would be mainly like if I had an issue or something I needed clearing up in my head, or I don't think I'm like a malicious gossip, and I don't think I give information that I don't pass information around. Although I did tell you something a few weeks ago that was very gossipy.
I can't remember what it
Well,
was.
I'm not going to say it. It was about someone that we both know, and it was quite a juicy piece of gossip.
Oh.
And
oh,
yeah.
my God.
And
Okay.
you were like floored by it.
Can I tell you something about
But
that?
that just landed on me that morning.
Yeah, I obviously can't talk about that piece of gossip that you told me, but it really did also make me want to do this show because I have, for many reasons, all the right reasons, sat on that. I have not told a soul.
Neither have I.
And
I told you.
Yeah, and I won't for reasons I can't say. But it really
How
sat with
annoying
me
for the
because I was
listener.
like, fucking hell, it was juicy and big and
But also
Tem-
really damaging
and
if
al-
that kind of information gets out.
well, which is why I haven't told anyone.
but hold on, but it has got out. Because it's not something,
yeah, but
it's
it
not,
stops with you and I.
not
'cause-
necessarily.
Well, we're not passing it on to anyone.
The person that told me is a friend of theirs. It was about a certain someone.
Yes.
Let's call them
Bob.
Bob, right? So Bob is the main character.
Yeah.
Bob is, and a friend of Bob's, I bumped into a friend of Bob's and they told me this piece of information about Bob.
I also know Bob.
Right? You know
through
Bob
different channels.
You know Bob better than I do.
Yeah.
I barely know Bob. It's
Mm.
not information I should have about Bob.
No.
So I gave you the information, which is effectively gossiping. I'm totally
It definitely
gossiping.
was gossip. Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
negative gossip.
Yes.
I hold my hands up.
Yeah.
Right.
And a little bit malicious. I'm not saying it wasn't true.
What's malicious, though?
Well, if it wasn't true, it was horrendously malicious. And I can't vouch for whether it's true or not.
Why malicious?
Because it's a very bad thing to say.
To repeat.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes, I hold my hands up to that. Yes,
Yeah.
it was. So I told you. I have not told anybody else
Mm.
because it's not, A, that's really not how I'm wired. And B, it was a really awful piece of information about
Yeah.
Bob.
Yeah.
And
well,
if that
not damaging, well, damaging to Bob.
damaging to
Yeah.
Bob.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And if that information got out,
Yeah.
that's a problem.
Yes.
So it might have ended with you and me,
Yeah.
but the person that told me that
Yeah.
piece of information, if they're happy to tell me, then they're happy to tell many other people, I would imagine.
That's on them, though. That is on them.
But that's what I said.
Yeah.
The gossip doesn't end.
yeah.
It's just ended. You and I have decided not to tell anybody.
Yeah.
Although you did tell Ollie.
I had to tell Ollie.
You didn't. You actually didn't. I didn't have to tell you.
I did have to, but
Why?
I also know.
Why did you have to?
Because I was quite uncomfortable holding that information.
Right.
And also, I know that he wouldn't. I know for a fact he won't tell anybody. I just know he wouldn't.
But hold on.
For the
But-
same
but
reasons
this,
I
But
wouldn't.
this is a beautiful example of how gossip spreads.
Of course.
Right? Because I've told you,
Yeah.
knowing that I trust you
Yeah.
and that you're not going to tell anyone,
Yeah.
but you've told Ollie,
Yeah.
right? Now
Does
we
it
don't
count when it's your own husband?
It does.
Does it?
Yes.
I mean, how much stuff do you not tell Adam?
Not. I mean, if someone says to me, please don't tell anyone, I don't tell Adam. I don't.
If someone specifically says to me, please don't tell Ollie or anyone, then of course I won't. But I mean, there's not a lot I don't tell him.
See, I don't get that I know that people say, oh, well, we're married, that we can tell each other everything, but I don't think that applies. Like if someone has said to me, please don't tell anybody, that I think that includes everybody.
It depends also kind of like what it is.
Well, that piece of information about Bob,
Yeah.
right? I'm just saying, you did what I did.
But it made me think about this show. Like that, after that info, it was making me think about doing this show. And then we got an email in from a listener saying, have you ever considered doing a show on gossip? And she said that her mother is a terrible, terrible gossip and talks about her friends and what's going on. And she really doesn't like it. And she finds it quite malicious and also boring. And had we ever considered a show on gossip? And those two things was like, yeah, we should do a show on this.
I'm with her on that. I find it really boring. And especially when you're telling me about somebody that I don't really know and I don't really have a lot of interest in, I don't care. I don't care what they're doing or what they have been doing or what they're up to or why are we interested in other people. Okay, if it's someone in my life,
Yeah.
then fine.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's this shit spreads.
it does.
And we've both had a perfect example a couple of weeks ago and we both spread it.
I was also the victim of gossip, like large scale gossip.
When?
It was quite a bizarre and extraordinary situation. When I was a doula, we had a private forum that was, locked to members of our organisation. And it was when Meghan Markle was pregnant. And there was a whole joke, an internal joke, because it was kind of reported that she was having a doula. So we were all joking around about, oh, are you her doula? Or I bet you're her doula, or da-da-da. And adding to those many comments, I put in, well, I am busy in the spring with a wink emoji. But like this, lots of people have put up a similar thing. Anyway, somebody got hold of this comment and told the papers. And because
That is such a breach of privacy.
because there is a link between the royal family and my husband's family, it felt fairly legit, even though it was ridiculous. So I got a phone call from a journalist at The Sun saying, hi, just wondering if we've had this tip off that you're Meghan Markle's doula. I was like, what? What are you talking about? Are you Meghan Markle? I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I thought it was a hoax. When I got home, Max said to me, Mum, there was a woman at the door while you were out. I said, what woman? She said she was a journalist and she asked if you were home.
Oh my God.
And we're ex-directory, so I don't know how the hell she got our home address. And I
That's
said, what,
frightening.
what does she look like? And he described her. And then I Googled the name of this person who said they'd phoned me. It was the same woman. Anyway, I thought, oh, this is a bit weird. I go to bed. I wake up the next morning. My phone has blown up overnight. I have got messages, missed calls, text messages.
From who?
Everybody I have ever known.
Where had it, who?
It was in The Sun, page 6, with a photo of me outing me as Meghan Markle's
That's
doula.
disgusting. But you had
Right?
not confirmed this.
How could I confirm it wasn't true?
No, I know. But they go to print anyway.
Every paper in the UK went with the story and online. My friend in Australia woke up to the morning news with my face.
No.
Yep.
No.
Everyone I had ever met, all my doula clients texted me, oh my God, we had the royal doula. We can't believe. I can't tell you how much this spread online. Every single paper, every media outlet, everyone was reporting. I had NBC. I had all the American news channels. It was fucking mental, right? Sort of funny and sort of not funny. And then when it really wasn't funny was when my mother rang me because we were about to go away skiing. And my mum rang me and she said, I answered the phone and she went, skiing my foot. And I said, what? And she said, listen, I completely understand. I know that you would have had to sign an NDA and I know you wouldn't have been allowed to tell me, but oh my gosh, it's big news. I said, Mum,
It's not true.
it's not true. And also I wouldn't lie to you. She went, honestly, I completely understand you'd be in real trouble if you told me. And I thought, oh my God, I'm
Even
now
my
in a place
own
where my
mother
own mother
doesn't.
has read gossip in the paper
Yeah.
and believes it. And I thought that is how dangerous this stuff is.
Wow.
And then as the days went on, there were things like I'd been seen going into Kensington Palace. I was waiting at home for a guy to fix my tumble dryer that day. So I knew that I wasn't at Kensington Palace, right? But I had been seen there.
Oh, if only.
If only. And it was really, really, really. And then I sort of said to the papers, by the way, I'm not her doula. I don't even know if she has a doula, but if she does, it isn't me. And then it kind of all went away. But it was
Wow.
mad.
But that's a great example, isn't it, of
Yeah.
how gossip can spiral.
Yeah.
And I guess in a way, that's harmless gossip.
Well, it was neutral gossip, I guess, because
Well,
it wasn't malicious.
Listen, it probably did you the world of good.
Didn't really.
Oh.
It wasn't malicious. It was kind of just neutral. This is information, but the information was not
wrong.
correct.
Was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the fact that you were even going into Kensington Palace, that's amazing.
And how much they lie. Because that was printed as a fact.
Yeah.
Mishcon was
Yeah,
seen
but that-
going into Kensington Palace.
But we know that about the UK press. They're terrible for that.
But that was, then I started to, what it made me think was how much stuff everybody consumes every day about other people, especially famous people.
And how untrue it is.
And how you take it as read. Oh, okay. Well, they were at Kensington Palace. No, they weren't.
Yeah.
It's not even based in fact. So
You,
that-
you were waiting in for an engineer.
Literally sitting in
Yeah.
my house in my tracksuit. So then you start to think like, how much stuff do I hear? How much gossip do I read and believe and soak in that has no basis in truth at all?
Yeah.
Right.
But don't you think that happens in our own social circles as well?
Yes, I
Because
do.
as
Yes, I
the
do.
information gets passed on, so let's say this information about Bob, as that gets passed on and passed on and passed on, does it change? Can it change? Will it change? Probably.
Definitely.
It's highly probable,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So now the truth of what Bob's up to versus what people are talking about is going to be completely different. And that's very dangerous.
And also, we don't know factually if Bob actually is up to or not up to that. That's just what this person said. And that person could have their own reasons
And their
for
own
sharing.
agenda. They
Right.
could have had a whole row with Bob. I don't know.
Exactly.
It was a real throwaway comment.
Yeah,
But it was a vicious throwaway comment.
very, very.
and dangerous.
Yeah. So I think
So then what did I do? I came and told you. But I do hear things like when I was in hairdressing, people would always,
of course, you would have heard everything.
I
You're like a
heard-
priest.
I heard everything.
Yeah.
And at the end of every Saturday, Adam always used to say, "What's the gossip?"
Yeah, of
And
course.
I always used to say, "There isn't any."
yeah.
And he'd be like, "Come on, people must have told you." I'm like, "They do." But to me, it was like, it was just water off a duck's back. I didn't hear it anymore because I was so used to batting it off because I didn't really care. And because I was so overexposed to it.
You got immune to it.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, I did. But I do remember when I was very young and I was working in a hairdresser's on a Saturday, I must have been like 13, 14 years old. And I remember being first exposed to it. And the women would come in and say the most outrageous things. And my mouth would be like on the floor. And then I would go home and say to my sister, "Oh my God, you can't believe what I heard today." But you do, you get totally immune to it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it true. Does it?
No. Loose lips sink ships.
I mean, I was talking to a friend of mine this morning and I told her about something that had happened to me at the weekend, an interaction I'd had with someone. Is that gossip?
Or were you talking about the other person?
Yeah.
Then yeah.
But I was also talking about my experience of it.
Were you asking her for help solving something, or were you just like, "This is what happened, what's your opinion"?
Yeah. It was,
Right.
"This is what happened. What do you think?"
Right.
It was more that. That's gossip. Anyway, do I consider myself a gossip? Yes, a little bit after this, which is an uncomfortable admission, but not a terrible one. Because honestly, I find it quite boring anyway, hearing about other people that I have no interest in.
Oh, yeah.
What about you?
Oh, I'm definitely going to say I am a human being and therefore sometimes I do gossip. I'm not even going to start bothering to lie about that. I really, really don't think I'm malicious.
No, I don't either.
And I really never have intention to hurt, damage, spread bad shit. Do I like a bit of juicy tattle sometimes? Yeah. And I'm human and I have to hold my hands up to that because that's the truth.
But I don't think you're a terrible gossip. I couldn't spend as much time with you as I do if you were.
No.
You're not.
I don't think I am, but I can't tell you that if I don't hear if I hear a bit of celeb juicy gossip, I'm not like,
But not even celeb juicy gossip about, people that you know.
I mean, for example, I'll give you a really small example. There's been all these rumours for months and months and months and months that Hailey Bieber is pregnant with Justin Bieber's baby. And people have been obsessed because she wore like a baggy denim jacket to Coachella. And normally she's in bodycon dresses. Like it's been going on and on, this speculation on and on and on and on and on. Anyway, it turns out she actually is pregnant and they announced it. But it's kind of, they've been outed and talked about for so many months that I can imagine that it probably spoilt those first however long it was when they were trying to just be subtle and discreet and actually have their own private business because it's really not anyone's business if she's pregnant or not. But it was crazy.
But it's not really anyone's business, but it does come with the territory. What about all that stuff that went down with Kate
Middleton.
And then she was forced to come out and tell everybody that she has cancer? That was absolutely dreadful.
Yeah.
And that was gossip at its fucking worst. And this
so
poor
much gossip.
woman should never, ever have been put in that position where she then has to admit to her own health journey and her own illness. It was not appropriate in any respect.
It was very tricky because she obviously said she was having surgery and then she vanished. And then the speculation, and I heard so much stuff from different people and from doctors and from friends of doctors and from other people. And like, oh my God, I heard endless amounts of stuff, but nobody knew it was going to be that. And then she kind of came out and said it and everyone was like, oh shit.
Yeah. And it was really awful.
Yeah,
and
it
kind
was.
of, you took a moment of, wow.
This is what gossip does.
This is what gossip does. This is what I've been a part of because I was speculating as well, along
course.
with the rest of them. And I felt really guilty and really awful and just, it's not okay.
Yeah, but I'd love to say, oh yes, and the press will learn lessons from this.
No, but they won't. But also, she's a public figure, so I'm not surprised that it went that way. But does she have the responsibility to tell the public what's going on with her own health? No, I don't think she does. I don't think she does.
I think everyone has the right to privacy over their own bodies.
Especially with
right?
something as serious as that.
And it's private.
Yeah.
It's difficult. So, if you think that you are or might be a gossip, here are some helpful tips for you, okay? If you are tempted to share intimate or personal details about someone with other people, weigh up your intentions and ask yourself the following tricky little questions. Number 1, how does passing this information help you or that other person? Why do you so badly want to share this information? If you do not have a valid reason, don't share it.
Okay, so interesting. What's happened to you this weekend?
Yes.
I think you had a valid reason to share that with me
Yes.
because you
I do
wanted
too.
to find a solution.
Well, I wanted your opinion
Yep.
on how you would have felt if that situation had happened with you and what you would do about it.
Yeah. The information that I passed on to you about Bob
Yes.
was not massively valid.
Well, it doesn't help you, me,
or the other
or Bob.
person. No.
No. It was just
But I'll be honest.
very salacious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. And now, and it was not the right thing to do. I hold my hands up. I should not have told you.
It wasn't the right thing of that person to tell you either, though.
Okay, but I'm doing the same thing
Mm.
because I've passed it on to you.
Yeah.
But I will say very honestly and very openly that if I got that piece of information tomorrow, I'd probably still tell you.
Mm. You probably would. Because otherwise you feel like you're keeping a secret from me.
No, I wouldn't.
But I'm also not going to go and talk about this situation with Bob with anyone else.
You did. You discussed
I
it.
told her with Ollie, but
Yeah, but
Ollie
no,
doesn't
he does
count.
count. You've got to stop doing that. Every person that you tell counts. It's like me saying to you, "Oh, it doesn't count." Me and my best friend, we've been best friends since we were 3 years old. She now lives in Miami, and we always say, we have said since day dot, "Oh, telling you is like telling myself." So to justify why we're telling you, but that's actually now I'm looking at all this. That is not true.
No, it's
Telling you is
true.
not like telling myself because you're just telling somebody else. But all we've done is, what's the word?
Spread it
No.
to each other.
Justified it.
Yeah.
But that's not
Okay, I
justifiable.
probably shouldn't have told Ollie,
Right.
but I did. I hope he hasn't told anyone else.
I don't think
I don't think
I don't
he's
think he's
really
that
that interested. No.
Also, ask yourself, are you sharing this information out of malice or envy? Or it could just simply be, it could just be curiosity. Could just be like juicy gossip. Am I spreading this because I just think it's juicy?
Mm.
You could be doing it because you want to validate your own life.
Mm-hmm.
If you have answered yes to that, don't. People who spend a large portion of their daily conversation talking about other people's lives, particularly personal details or negative aspects of others' lives, are actually suffering from low self-esteem.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
They draw validation to themselves from others' misery. So when they share information about others not doing well in their lives, they are validating that their life is so much better. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
It's like a power trip.
You've got a couple of friends in your lives who you often say to me, "Oh my God, I can't bear it. Every time I see them, all they do is talk about other people." And I think that's because that makes them feel better.
And I had a situation a few weeks ago where they started
Yeah.
with the talking about other people and I got really stroppy about it.
Yeah.
I could not sit there because I've listened to it so many times. I couldn't listen to it again. And I got really stroppy and I actually stood up and I said, why are we still talking about this? It's not relevant. And all you're doing is putting this blame on this other person and it's nothing to do with them. Can we stop? And everyone just fell silent. And
Yeah.
But that's the thing, right? I'm speaking up for what's right. I'm speaking up for justice, right?
Yeah.
In that moment.
Yeah.
But actually, what was more socially acceptable in that moment was just to sit there and either be part of the gossip or listen to the gossip.
Yes.
Well, that's not okay.
It's not okay.
So what's that about?
Don't know.
I stood out like the sore thumb. Everyone went silent and then it was awkward and then the subject got changed and then I felt like a twat.
You shouldn't have felt like a twat
But I
because you were in
did.
the right.
Of
You were in
course
the right.
of course I was in the right. But what I'm saying is sometimes it is more socially acceptable to be a part of it.
Totally.
And that makes me very uncomfortable.
because that's like being in a social group mentality, isn't it? You don't want to be
Yes.
sticking out of the herd.
Comes back to that connection piece, that bonding piece again.
Yes.
But I don't think that's the right way to bond.
No, not when it's malicious, no. Are you doing it for your own personal gain? If you're passing on personal details about someone else's life without a good intention, it might seem harmless, but it could affect your credibility. It could also damage your sense of well-being. And if you start to depend on gossip and slander for your own happiness or validation, obviously this is not healthy or good for your own personal growth. So here is how to make sure that if you are gossiping in a responsible and trustworthy way.
Oh,
1, think twice before you do it. Is this news going to stop something bad from happening? Are you sharing this information to warn the other person? Or is it just to get the information out of your system?
is it okay if you want to just get the information out of your system? Because you did that.
That was what I did today.
Yeah.
But I think that's valid because I wasn't really talking about another person. I know it involved another person, but I was talking about me. This experience happened to me, and I'm talking to you about how I'm feeling about it. Am I really gossiping about it?
Yes.
Am I?
Well, in these terms of what
Mm.
we've set out, yes, because
Yeah.
you're talking about another person when they're not there.
Yeah.
So yes, you are.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the experience involved you.
Yeah.
You're talking about both of you.
Yeah. Tricky.
It's tricky. It is tricky.
The other thing is tell it like it is. Don't distort it or exaggerate it to make a better story or to justify why you're gossiping
Yes,
about
there's a lot of
someone.
that.
Mm,
There's a lot of that.
definitely, because it makes a much better story.
That's like me when I say to my friend, "Oh, telling you is like telling myself." We're justifying it.
Yeah. And this was your situation. What should you do and what can you do if negative gossip is making you uncomfortable?
Well, I think it's very tricky. I think, honestly, the best way, you are not obligated to have to sit there and listen to it.
No,
But as I learned the other week,
it's
when
easier.
it's yes and no, because you're doing something that you're very uncomfortable with, so it's not always easy, but it's not standing up for it and saying, actually, this is not correct, and schooling people on what is right and what isn't is also not easy and not necessary. I would actually say, walk away. Or say, can we change the subject?
Well, you did. You set a conversational boundary.
Well, I had a bit of a go at everybody first.
Okay.
I did, because I was getting really stroppy, because we were talking about it for a long time.
Yeah.
We talked about it many, many times before. I didn't need to sit there and listen to it again. It was boring.
It is boring. Keep in mind, people gossip for all sorts of reasons. Sometimes they're trying to gain acceptance in a group. They might just be bored,
Yeah.
which I think might have been the case in your situation. I think they were actually just bored, and it was like an easy subject to talk
Well,
about.
then just talk about something
I
else. There's always something
agree.
else to talk about.
But whatever their reason, if they're making you uncomfortable, stay true to yourself, because you can't control other people, what they do, what they say. But you can decline to be part of the
But that's
gossip.
what I mean. You could just walk away.
Yeah.
But what's interesting, I've just realised now, is that I'm gossiping about them gossiping.
You are. You are. And it is
Yeah.
negative.
Yeah. And they're not here
No,
to defend themselves.
they're not.
So I'm doing exactly what they were doing. And it's not the first time I've told you that.
And it's not. And now I've just told all the clubbers. I've spread the gossip.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it basically never ends. God
Mm.
knows what's happened with poor Bob's gossip at this point. God knows how that's spread.
Yeah. It's a tricky one, isn't it?
And then it's a case of like, well, who can I trust? Who can I trust will really hold me and anything that I tell them sacred?
Well, a secret is only a secret if you're the only person that knows it. Once you tell one other person a secret, it's no longer a secret anymore, is it?
That's the problem with secrets.
Yeah,
Well, that was interesting.
it was. I don't think we've solved it. I don't think we can really fix gossip, but I think there's a lot to think about in that.
I think I will think I will think about this a lot when I'm talking about somebody else. My best friend Donna, she has got a saying, and I can't remember what it is, but lashon hara. It's like a Hebrew term.
Yeah.
She won't lashon hara, which means she won't talk about somebody else. She hates it. Hates it. She's so uncomfortable with it. It like disturbs her soul.
Good. I mean, that sounds very healthy.
Yeah. But it's very hard.
Very.
She also comes up against it a lot
I'm sure.
because we live in a gossip culture.
where it is encouraged.
Yeah, where it is encouraged, and it's encouraged. We bond that way.
Yeah.
And we communicate that way.
Very much. And someone was saying the other day that gossip is it's a way of women to release frustration and anger, whereas men will fight, women will gossip, and it's like an outlet for them, which
It's a
was a very
terrible-
interesting take, actually.
It's a terrible outlet.
Yeah, but I can see how that's a thing.
So can I.
Mm.
It does relieve pressure and
Mm,
stress.
mm,
Because you're talking about somebody else, so
Mm.
you're taking your mind off your
Mm.
own stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is our show on gossip. I think this is going to be part of a bigger conversation.
It probably is. And thank you to Liz for the suggestion of this show.
Thanks, Liz. If you have any other suggestions of what you would like us to talk about or try, please do be in touch. Hello at the selfcareclub.co.uk. We love hearing from you. We can't stress that enough. If you want to come onto our socials at Selfcare Club Pod, over at Instagram, over at TikTok. Our show is now on YouTube.
Yes.
Not that either one of us watch it, because why would we? That would be
we're not 16.
weird.
I don't know. Lots of people watch YouTube. It's very
What nothing
popular.
to do with being 16.
It's very popular, the
You always
YouTube.
come down to the age.
The YouTube is very
Oh, stop
popular.
it. I know why you said that. And I'm not biting. I'm refusing. We will be back on...
Friday.
We'll be back on Friday for our weekly wellness roundup show.
Yeah. There's no meltdown this week.
No meltdown.
Because we're having our own. No.
I am,
Nicole has to go into hospital for some back surgery.
which I have mentioned
Only a few times.
once or twice.
She's got main character syndrome.
Yeah,
Had
imagine.
back
Excuse
surgery.
me.
Yeah.
What were you like about your shoulder scan?
I wouldn't be very good if I was having back
you
surgery.
wouldn't.
I'd certainly be the main character and all the minors as well. So we'll see you on Friday.
Bye.